Hey everyone, Mitch coming in from the Commander's Core Studio. Welcome to the show. So, Lost Caverns of Ixalan spoiler season continues on, and we've seen a lot of exciting cards. We've seen a lot of fun cards, and now, well, I mean, we've seen some other ones, but we've seen one that the first time I saw it, I'm just like, that's just mean. And yeah, some cards in Magic can definitely be mean. Some can be more impactful in some formats, and this one just seems like specifically tailored for Commander in the way that it's worded, and let's jump into it. Kitesail Larcenist, a mean pirate. A 2/3 human pirate with flying and ward 1 for 2 and a blue. When it enters the battlefield, for each player, choose up to one other target artifact or creature that player controls. For as long as Kitesail Larcenist remains on the battlefield, the chosen permanents become treasure artifacts with tap sacrifice them for mana, essentially, like a treasure, and lose all other abilities. So, okay, I don't know how, okay, just like story-wise, like how would this work? Like, this pirate is a larcenist, so yeah, they're like, yeah, I stole that, or yeah, cool, now you're a treasure. How does that work? Anyways, so essentially, yeah, again, with the way that this is worded, very specifically, again, enters the battlefield for each player. Choose up to one other target artifact or creature they control. So again, you can choose, again, for every single player, up to one. So don't have to choose one of their artifacts or creatures and turn it into a treasure that loses everything else. So it's kind of like the first card I thought about was like Darksteel Mutation, because what this card's going to be utilized for is like, hey, your commanders are treasures. Yeah, I mean, Darksteel Mutation turns them into like an indestructible bug, which is harder for the person to get rid of. With this, as Eddie pointed out, blame Eddie in the comments below. Yeah, I mean, if you turn someone's commander into a treasure, they can just get rid of it and then have to recast it. I mean, they can recast it. That's still very inconvenient. At the very least, this can be, again, like, hey, ETB on a 3-mana flying creature, get rid of 3 creatures or artifacts, specifically, most likely. Again, most decks are built around commanders and their abilities, essentially, and you're like, hey, okay, this comes into play. All your commanders are now treasures. They do nothing else, and until you either deal with this or get rid of them, I'm putting you in a bind where you're some decks, again, really don't work or function without their commander. So it's a very easy removal spell. Again, low to the ground, just 3 mana. Again, it has some utility. It's a 2/3 flyer, you know, so it can get through on opponents. It can block if you really need to. Obviously, you probably don't want to block most of the time. There is a little bit of annoyingness to it as well, where it has that ward 1 where, yeah, the player is going to like, okay, fine, I guess I'll get rid of it, save all of our things, essentially, and then say, yeah, okay, I'll have to pay the extra. And then, yeah, also, like Eddie pointed out, blink effects. There are certain ways to, of course, use and abuse this to reset it, and then utilize it to say, oh, yeah, you all sacrificed your commanders or whatever so you can get around it. Cool, all right. I'll blink this, I'll get it right back, and then all your commanders are treasures again, or again, other important creatures or artifacts, essentially. So, has a lot of utility in that way. Again, reanimation effects also come into play as well. Bounce effects to get it back to your hand, then replay it. Clone effects can obviously work with it as well for multiple permanents to be really annoying with it. Yeah, there's a lot of different kind of ways that you can really use and abuse this to be even more mean, and obviously at the end of the day, yeah, I mean, it can be removed, but there are ways to protect it, and of course, also on top of all of this, it also has utility for you, because for whatever reason, they didn't say, you know, again, it says for each player, it doesn't say for each opponent, it says for each player, so that can include yourself, and again, they give you that flexibility where, again, it's up to 1. It doesn't have to be chosen, so if you don't have anything that you want to make into a treasure, great, don't do that. But if you do, yeah, utilize it. Again, if you have cards in play that you're like, oh, okay, cool, I've got like this 1/1 token that I don't care about, or I've got this other kind of token that I don't care about. Again, it can kind of improve that token and make it into something that's more valuable to you at that time. Again, a treasure is typically more valuable than a lot of other kinds of tokens, like food tokens, blood tokens, sometimes, depending on the situation, clue tokens as well, obviously, because you have to actually pay to sacrifice and draw cards. So, depending on what you have in play, you might be like, yeah, okay, cool, yeah, I'll turn that into a treasure, and now I'll utilize it for mana, and it's kind of like pseudo-ramp for you as well in that way. And I don't know if it needed that. So, it does kind of have a little more application than you might even think it does have. So, yeah, this card, again, I do think will see play. Again, if you've got a Blink commander, a Reanimation commander, a commander that can utilize it by bouncing back to the hand. If you've got even just a Flyers deck or a Pirate deck or a Human deck, this is a good piece of removal again that can just be pretty annoying for your opponents and kind of make them have to make some really weird decisions again. Like, okay, like, can I either convince an opponent that might have a removal spell to get rid of that, or am I supposed to try to get rid of it? And if I do try to get rid of it, are they going to be able to deal with my removal spell or bounce it, and then it's just kind of like blank my removal spell and also had to pay an extra mana for that as well? Or do I just sacrifice my commander who's doing nothing for me right now and then try to recast my commander, but again, they could reset it. So like, you can put your opponents into some really awkward situations where again, they're making the wrong decision. So this card overall is just, again, cards that kind of like deal with commanders in not like a straightforward way. Again, like a Dark Mutation can just be kind of mean in some ways as well. There are ways to deal with it, but still, there's some pretty annoying factors to it. And speaking of those factors, we're going to talk about some cards on this episode, that kind of work with this, work in tandem with it, kind of allude to some effects, but also we're talking about some commanders that might consider this too. So with all that said, let's jump into it. So really quick, consider this. Yeah, there are plenty of blink spells. And of course, there are plenty of blink spells in blue. And obviously, you have to be in blue to even play this. So yeah, if you're in blue or white or whatever you're in, you probably have access to some blink spells, especially these colors. And yeah, Essence Flux, very simple, very effective. 1 mana, blink a creature. Wizards, reprint this, please. Should be basically the exact same price as Cloud Shift. Keep reprinting it, please. Essentially, just blink a creature. Cool. Also, with the Spirit counter, don't care about that. Anyways. What matters is, again, this is a 1 mana way to reset your pirate and essentially say, oh, okay, you sacrificed your commanders to, kind of get around my pirate being in play and shutting them down. I'm going to reset that and then take your commanders out again, essentially. So, yeah, we're just going to do that. Or, again, a way to essentially blank a removal spell to say, yeah, I'm just going to bounce it, or not bounce it, blank it. It comes back, and, yeah, the problem is there again. And then also I can, again, reassign my own trigger, essentially, my own permanent that I'm going to be turning into, artifact creature, I should say. I'm going to be turning into a treasure because, again, like I mentioned, yeah, if you've got maybe some other ways to make different kinds of counters, other ways to make some different kinds of tokens, like throw investigation. Champion says, whenever you attack, investigate. Cool. Yeah, sometimes you don't want a clue to be a clue. You're just like, yeah, okay, the clue's fine, but I got to pay mana to sacrifice it to actually draw cards. I'd rather it just be a treasure. So in that case, again, if you've got a deck that's making a lot of different kinds of tokens, if you've got, maybe blood tokens, food tokens, map tokens now as well, and you're like, you know what, that's probably better used as just a treasure. Treasures, no offense to all the other tokens, but are kind of top of the line when it comes to being a token. So yeah, you can be like, okay, cool. You are now something better. You can actually improve your own situation as well. So again, it has the utility again to kind of shut down commanders for a little bit potentially, or other important things, I should say, artifacts, creatures, and then also benefit you as well in a way. So it's just pretty crazy in that aspect. Now, when it comes to commander potential, let's talk about something like Brago, King Eternal, a 2/4 spirit for 4 mana flying that says, hey, when it hits an opponent, you get to exile any number of non-land permanents you control and then bring them right back. So essentially, yeah, it's a very good blink commander that can just basically blink your entire board and you're like, okay, cool, I get all the ETBs again. So again, it's a great way to say, okay, I've got a low to the ground, again, 3 mana, piece removal that is evasive, has flying, lovely, and says, you know what, opponents, let's shut down those commanders. Again, your deck's probably built around your commanders. They have no abilities. They're treasures. Cool. Oh, and by the way, if you ever just try to sacrifice your commander and, you get some mana out of it, recast your commander, I'm probably just going to blink it again and get it back and then shut your commander down again. So it kind of be not a lock. Obviously, it can be dealt with. But again, you probably have a lot of ways to blink it and save it from any kind of removal, essentially. So it can be a way to just keep shutting down opponents' commanders again and again and again. Especially blink decks should definitely be considering something as brutal as this. Moving on, how about reanimator decks? Those can utilize it in a good way as well. Separate the hidden ways. Whenever one or more creature cards from the graveyard from anywhere, venture the dungeon, triggers only once each turn. Whenever you complete a dungeon, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Of course, outside of this, you've got other ways to benefit from creatures being in the graveyard. You've got other reanimation type effects. And yeah, by being able to get back your pirate in the right situation, again, your opponents might think they've dealt with it. They're like, okay, it's gone. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh no, we got our commanders back out again. And like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to reanimate that, bring it right back, shut those commanders down again. And also kind of with this again, it does have that utility where, especially your reanimator deck, yeah, if you've got a creature that has a fantastic ETB, think like Sepulchral Primordial or Diluvian Primordial, basically in the Primordials, any other great ETBs as well. Yeah, it already did its thing, right? It came into play. Cool. All right, now you got your Pyre coming into play. You can turn that creature into a treasure, utilize it for mana. It gets back to your graveyard, and then you can reanimate it again to really use and abuse that ETB. So again, it has that extra flexibility with this kind of a commander. Moving on, Tulane, already an absurdly powerful commander. Vigilance, whenever you cast a creature spell, draw a card. You may put a land card from your hand on the battlefield, pay 3, tap, return target creature to its owner's hand. You like a lot of low-to-the-ground creatures with Tulane deck. It's a good removal spell, and again, it's one that essentially you can bounce back to your hand to reset it, even just on Tulane. So yeah, it can definitely help you in that aspect. Definitely one to consider. Moving on, how about a clone commander like Recoup 2 Reflections? Whenever you cast into sorcery, you can pay blue and a red, copy it essentially. Whenever another non-token creature is battlefield under control, you can pay green and blue. If you do, copy it. So essentially, again, getting an extra copy of this says, oh, I'm just doubling up its effectiveness and shutting down twice as many things. Yeah, what's not to love about that? And again, if you've got other clone effects in the deck, you're just like, oh, that's a treasure, that's a treasure, that's a treasure, that's a treasure. Basically, again, it's a 3 mana, potentially remove 3 things spells. Yeah, do your opponents get a slight value out of it by getting a treasure? Yeah, but they'd rather have their own thing. They'd rather have that card that they played most of the time. Again, you're not turning your opponents, again, because it says choose up to 1, so again, it benefits you in that aspect, and also benefits you if your opponents don't have anything valuable in play, that you're actually like, okay, you just have like a blood token in play? Yeah, I'm not making that into a treasure. Sorry about that. I guess sometimes you might, but most of the time you're not going to. Or how about, again, like Kangi Skywarden, just putting it in a Flyers deck as one of your pieces of removal is pretty great. 3/3 Bird Wizard for 5 mana. Whenever it attacks, attacking creatures flying at +2/+0. Whenever it blocks, flying creatures flying at +0/+2. Flying in Vigilance. Yes, again, just throwing it in there and be like, yeah, okay, it's a flyer. It's got some utility to it. It's got removal potential. And it's, yeah, just now apparently a 4-power attacking flyer when Kangi's attacking. Decently low to the ground. Protects itself a little bit. Yeah, it's definitely consideration for those decks as well. So again, there's a lot of potential for this kind of a card, and it can be pretty mean for the right build. So yeah, again, as this episode is coming to a close, just to wrap things up, when I first saw this card, I was like, yeah, that's definitely made for Commander in the way that they worded it, and it's kind of mean in a little bit. Again, a little bit of Darksteel Mutation kind of vibes to it a little bit. Again, but like for all players, yes, they do get a treasure, so they can sacrifice that creature or artifact, but most likely, again, it's gonna be like, oh, you have all your commanders in play, cool, shut them all down temporarily. And also, I probably have effects to ensure that I can shut them down again, and again, and again. So, yeah, and also, hey, yeah, that little blood token I have, it's now a treasure, cool, good for me, yay! I think this is gonna be a little bit of an annoying card in EDH that you might see popping up. So, let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are on it. Make sure you're staying tuned to this channel for even more exciting quick takes and spoilers. And of course, as always, thanks again, and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.